Hello again, this is attorney Mark Brunner, and thank you so much for joining me again today here on Talking Texas Law. So today we're going to talk about early termination of a deferred adjudication probation. So how to get off a deferred adjudication probation early. Now we had a previous video talking about early termination of a straight or regular probation, but today we're talking about deferred. So in Texas, there really is no minimum amount of time to ask to get off of a deferred adjudication early. So let's say that you've been sentenced to 5 years. You don't have to wait a particular amount of time. Is it a year? Is it half? Is it a third? For deferred adjudication here in Texas, there really, again, is no minimum. I mean, technically, you could be on probation deferred on Monday and asked to get off on Tuesday. Now, the odds of you succeeding are going to be less than zero if that's possible, but again, no minimum amount of time to wait. Some of the factors, however, that a judge may consider in his or her mind, each judge may have their own particular minimum. They may say, I want to see this person having served at least a year or half or whatever. It really depends on the judge. Also, some other factors to consider. A judge is going to look at what was the seriousness of the offense that originally put this person in front of me as a judge. What was this defendant's overall criminal history? What has their behavior been towards their probation officer? How much hassle have they been over the past few months or years or whatever? Also, the judge may listen to the opinion of the prosecutor's office that originally made a plea bargain deal with the defendant. Also, in general, what is in the best interest of society, the victim, if any, the rehabilitation of the defendant, what is the just thing to do? Hopefully, those are some of the factors that the court will keep in mind. Again, Texas law gives judges a very wide latitude in determining how long someone has been on a deferred. Is it long enough or not? Can this person get off early or not? It's really up to that court. Some of the other qualifying factors, what are some of the ways that a defendant may make themselves look better to a judge in order to try to get off their deferred early? Well, at a minimum, you got to have at least your financial obligations taken care of. So your fines, your court costs, any restitution, that's been zeroed out. You've paid it all off. Now, I'm not talking about the $60 a month probation fee. You will only pay that for the months you were actually on probation. You can't pay that into the future. But again, your other financial obligations, that should be zero. Also, what should be zeroed out is any kind of community service hours, classes, evaluations, treatment programs, things like that. Those need to have been all taken care of, successfully completed. Also, no new violations, no new arrests since you've been on probation. Hopefully no violations of your probation of any kind. So you've had all the conditions of deferred they've given you, you've abided by successfully over the past few months or years. You've really just followed the rules. That's really what they're looking for at a minimum. And again, a judge may have other factors in mind, and so you're never going to know unless you try to find out and ask. Some offenses in Texas may not be eligible to get off a deferred adjudication early. Specifically, I'm thinking of Chapter 62 sex offenses that you have to register as a sex offender. If you are on a deferred for a Chapter 62 eligible offense, you cannot ask to get off early on your deferred. For everything else, again, you can honestly say that you've taken care of your financial obligations, you've been a model probationer, you've taken care of your classes and community service hours and things like that. It doesn't hurt to try to get in there with a motion for early termination of your deferred adjudication and try to ask to get off early. You don't have to serve the full term if you can convince the court that you have been fully rehabilitated and it's in the best interest of justice that you be let off early. You'll never know until you try. Once again, this video is being offered for informational and educational purposes only. This is not a legal consultation and should not be construed as giving specific legal advice. And unless you are already a contracted client of mine, I'm not your lawyer. Once again, this is attorney Mark Brunner, and thank you so much for joining me again on Talking Texas Law. I'll see you all next time.